So as I'm recording this, Kendrick Lamar is fresh off the heels of a Super Bowl halftime performance.
What up, Reddit? It's Kendrick Lamar.
He had a complete domination in hip-hop last year, and to me, this is kind of wrapping this all up in a bow tie and just establishing how dominant he was within the last 12 months. And more realistically, like the last 10 months. For this video, I don't necessarily want to talk about everything that came before Not Like Us. In fact, I'd rather talk about everything that came after the record. So let's work our way to Kendrick's Super Bowl performance and everything that led up to that point. I was thinking about the song Not Like Us, just the song in general. When the song first came out, it was seen as a victory lap. Kendrick won the rap beef against Drake. He gets to celebrate now. He gets to have as much fun as he wants. But then the song just kept getting more popular and popular and popular. For me, the song went from a victory lap to a 5-time Grammy-winning anthem. And if it weren't for Post Malone radio airplay, I don't know how many weeks the song would have been at #1. And I don't know why, but something tells me he might perform at the Super Bowl now. Even though the song is not a year old, the context since it's been released has changed so much. And you start thinking, what made this so much more effective than anything else that has come out of hip-hop, basically? At least in terms of engaging Drake on a personal level, this diss track was the least damning in that regards, but I also understand how destructive it is just because of its sheer popularity. And also, just for a disclaimer, I recently saw FD Signifier's video about the whole Drake-Kendrick beef. So if anything weaves in there that sounds a little too similar to anything he said, just credit him. So technically the whole thing that started this beef was like that, which was a response to third-person shooter, specifically a line that said Big Three. Who's the Big Three? It's J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick. And Kendrick basically just said, nuh-uh. There's not a simple way to put it, but the best way I can describe it is that he's sort of like LeBron James. He was a prodigal talent that everyone saw coming up. If you went to the XXL freshman class that Kendrick Lamar was in, he would be the first overall draft. And like LeBron, he has lived up to every single expectation that has been put on him. And he's also a hometown hero to where he grew up. And just like LeBron, a lot of the cases against LeBron is that he's just not the greatest of all time. And the reasoning usually boils down to like, oh, he doesn't play the way I want him to play, so that means he's a worse player. This isn't the first time Kendrick has challenged his peers. If you look back to the Control verse, that's him challenging his peers as well. He actually specifically talked about J. Cole and Drake in that song as well. He basically just asked them to be at the top of their game or else he's going to take the throne of being the best artist. But the first time Kendrick did this back in 2013 on Control, Drake didn't react that well. He was just kind of like wishy-washy, passive-aggressive.
The verse was great and I understand what he was
as a fan,
to do.
I would enjoy a Drake and Kendrick kind of sparring session.
Well, I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? You want me to lie to you about this?
No, that's good. That's good.
So in the same vein of taking it personally back in 2013, he does the same thing with his diss tracks. And there were personal feelings to have between each other, but this call out specifically by Kendrick, it was just meant to challenge them artistically, which they just didn't come up close to what Kendrick was doing. At first it just kind of started with Drake crossing his arms, calling Kendrick short. Oh, drop and give me 20. Oh, you know, I'm your drill sergeant, you're my maggot, that sort of thing. But as the beat progressed, it became less of an exhibition and more of a division between two factions of hip-hop. There was the Drake side and then there was the Kendrick side. And in my opinion, the division of these sides represented a broader context into hip-hop. To me, this isn't just Drake versus Kendrick, this is what Drake represents versus what Kendrick represents to rap music. And what does Drake represent to rap? He represents the vices, the women, the pill popping, the just having a good time, respecting the women, you go girl, you. He kind of had this attitude of a playboy that was kind of respectful towards women, and by I just mean kind of like nice for what, you know? I remember when people were talking about the music video and it didn't have Drake's face, it actually had women in it. They're like, oh man, Drake is so respectful towards women, that sort of thing. But he still had a playboy demeanor and everything that goes along with being a playboy. But if you think about what Drake has been doing between 2018 and 2023, in a simple sense, Drake was a pop artist in a hip-hop world. Like obviously he stayed popular because of hits, but if you think about the material in these songs, it's a lifestyle of excess and it's something not a lot of people get to experience, and they get to experience it through Drake. Kendrick, on the other hand, is just the exact opposite. Whenever people were criticizing Kendrick in the beef, they were always talking about how he was boring. That was like the biggest, ooh, oh, he talks too much, he's boring. Who wants to listen to him? That was like people's counterpoint points to why Kendrick should lose, it honestly had a lot of momentum. A lot of the people who will tell you Kendrick won now, a lot of them were on Drake's side. They heard Family Matters for the 15 minutes it existed, and they were just like, oh yeah, Drake won. Drake won this. Drake has the upper hand. And to me, it's simply just because what Drake represented to hip-hop. He was just a macho person that was able to brute force his way into winning anything over. But then there's the personal context of this beef. And by personal context, I just mean Kendrick really hates Drake. Kendrick really, really hates Drake. Kendrick wants Drake gone. All you need to know about Not Like Us is that this is Kendrick's victory lap record. He had already beaten Drake at the rap beef at this point, and he just wanted to celebrate. And what better way to celebrate than to beat Drake at his own game? But at this point, Not Like Us is Kendrick beating Drake in every sense of the word. It proved that Kendrick could beat Drake without being Drake. Oh, what's that? Drake makes club bangers? Well, I'm gonna make an even bigger club banger without doing all of the conniving tricks that Drake does. I'm not going to rely on leeching from other cultures to make my hit. In fact, my song is going to be a celebration of my culture. Yeah, despite the fact that Drake is from Toronto, he bites so much from Atlanta that it doesn't really matter where he comes from. And Kendrick wanted to let everyone know that Drake was the antithesis of hip-hop and everything it stood for. And Kendrick doubled down on this with his album GNX. Alright, it's been a few months now, GNX is still a good album, it stood the test of time, what a surprise. But again, this album shows you can do Drake stuff without doing Drake stuff. Again, you can have club bangers without trying to leech from other cultures or artists. And if there's any upcoming talent, put them as a feature on your album instead of being a stimulus for them. I'm just going to get rappers from the LA area and promote them on my album as well. I'm going to focus on promoting my culture because that's what I've been talking about this whole time. Because there is a very, very big difference between a small artist being featured on your album and you being featured on a small artist's album. Because that small artist might have a style, and if you're someone like Drake, you want to bite from that style, and if you're someone like Kendrick, you want them on your album so they can try to spread it to other people. Because let's say someone like Peso made a song, and Kendrick says, oh wait, this artist is up and coming. You know what, let me be on their song so that way I can promote it to other people. If you are the feature, you can still reap the benefits of everything good that song has. However, what that ends up doing is that the song is being marketed on the feature rather than the song itself. And then you still get to be popular. Alright, on to the next artist. What are you still doing here, Peso? Get out. Shoo. No, you don't get to be on my album. Let me emphasize, this is something that Drake does. And if I can compare it to something else, I'm going to compare it to YouTube shoutouts. So basically, if I'm Mr. Beast and I shout you out on YouTube, you will get a huge influx of subscribers, a big stimulus. But what that does is all the people coming to you are coming to you because of Mr. Beast. As a creator, you had no chance to prove yourself. So when you try to upload other things, no one's going to watch you because the reason they subscribed has nothing to do with you. Same thing applies to a Drake stimulus. When Drake is featured on a song, the song gets really big. But if you try to release other music, people will not listen to you because the reason they listen to the song is because of Drake. Drake isn't giving you the spotlight, he's sharing the spotlight with you and then taking the spotlight with him. Because ask yourself, why was Drake the most popular from 2018 to 2023 without anyone really being able to challenge him except maybe Kanye? And even then, you know, a couple things happened. Because Drake is a parasite and he knows how to stay relevant by preventing other people from becoming relevant. Now, this isn't to say Not Like Us was a foolproof way to get everyone to convert over to Kendrick's side. No, there is still a dedicated audience of people that will go under every single tweet mentioning Kendrick or Not Like Us or GNX, and they will just say, oh, the Drake effect. Oh, Drake did this. Kendrick owes everything to Drake because of this beef. Because yes, somehow Drake is responsible for this small and upcoming rapper named Kendrick Lamar, who definitely doesn't have an album from 2012 still on the Billboard 200 charts. He gets all the credit. But at the same time, Drake fans are the reason this song isn't the Drake killer. And I know I put Drake killer in the thumbnail. I just did that because it rhymes and also it's a lot more catchy than Drake slightly stunting him for a year. Because here's the thing about Drake fans. They're not fans of Drake. They're fans of the idea of Drake. They are fans of the idea of going to clubs and doing Drake stuff. Whether that's a good thing or not is not important, but there are people, they care more about embodying Drake's lifestyle vicariously than caring about Drake. Drake fans need Drake, not because of his music, because of what his lifestyle represents. No one is going to do Drake things better than Drake. He's gonna remain that guy that's in the clubs and doing club things, and they will stop at nothing to keep that. Kendrick's not going to do that, and they hate it. They hate that by embodying Kendrick vicariously, they have to live a better lifestyle with good mental health. And some of these people will just say anything. Oh, is that Kendrick's taking too long to drop? Oh, that means he lost already because it took him so long to drop. Oh, is that Kendrick released Euphoria? Oh, well, it's too boring. Oh, is that Kendrick released a track after Drake's diss track? Oh, well, it's the Drake effect. Kendrick's just doing this because Drake is popular. And then he releases Not Like Us, and suddenly it goes from, oh, Kendrick lost because he's not dropping, to, oh, and now he's dropping too much. And the song stays popular, and they just say, oh, it's because of Drake, not because of Kendrick, not the person who actually made the song. No, Drake is the reason this song is popular. And then a music video for the song comes out because it's a Billboard #1. Oh, he's milking it still. He's milking it. And because the song stays popular, a new theory pops up. Oh, the label's pushing the song, which Drake has never ever been pushed by a label before. But here's the thing, Drake has stayed pretty quiet after Not Like Us. He released like that one Hey Gwen. Drake hasn't actually released any music. And it's for a simple reason. Drake's music isn't what keeps him relevant, it's the idea of what Drake is that keeps him relevant. So as long as this song exists, Not Like Us, as long as this exists, the idea of Drake stays in people's heads. As long as Not Like Us is in rotation, Drake is still relevant. But what happens when an album by Kendrick comes out and there's no direct disses towards Drake? In fact, there's more of a direct diss towards Snoop Dogg than Drake. Well, it's simple. We're just gonna sue him. Because I think everyone that isn't trying to get attention knows this lawsuit is useless. What is he trying to sue him over? And also because Drake is suing UMG as well because they're promoting Not Like Us or whatever the fuck the lawsuit, it doesn't matter. By suing UMG, Drake has created the narrative now that he is the victim. He is the David to UMG's Goliath. And that it's Drake against the industry, and he's fighting the industry right now. Which, don't get me wrong, there's some truth to it. The industry is a bad thing. But the industry has treated Drake better than 99.999% of other artists that enter the industry. These are pointless lawsuits that are simply made to generate publicity. They're meant to keep Drake relevant because GNX isn't going to keep Drake relevant, it's going to keep Kendrick relevant because it's his album. But as long as Drake keeps Not Like Us in the conversation, he stays relevant. Which leads me to the Super Bowl performance, which, by the way, just want to say, phenomenal Super Bowl performance. To have this back to back with Usher's Super Bowl performance, this is an absolutely like great time for halftime shows. And anyone who says otherwise just says that the halftime shows suck every year and that they used to be good. You've been saying this for 15 years now. Which halftime shows used to be good? Michael Jackson? You want to see Michael Jackson again? Well, he's fucking dead. Too bad. Ha ha. This is the climax of everything Kendrick has been working up to this year to this point. This is his crowning achievement, his statement of being the best rapper alive.
All right, y'all, I'm sorry. Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl was whack. That was one of the worst halftime shows.
But after that ends, there might be a tour, but as for the actual album rollout, you know, he needs to lay low for a little while longer to figure out what he wants to do next. And I don't know when the next album's gonna come out. It could come out in another 1, 2, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? And don't get me wrong, for the time now, Kendrick is the more popular artist than Drake. So with that, he has an entirely new audience, and not all of that audience is going to be perfect. People are just going to find part of that audience annoying. People are going to say, oh, I hate Not Like Us. It plays all the time. It's such a stupid song. I hate rap music. And then they hear the people yelling mustard and they think it's corny and stuff. And I'll be honest, I think that will lead to a quicker burnout of popularity, at least in the moment. Like, I mean, tippy top popularity. Kendrick's in the top 10 of Spotify listeners right now. This is just a theory, but I think what kept Drake at the top of the game as long as he was there, it was simply that he was the scapegoat of his own popularity. If you wanted to make fun of Drake, you would just make fun of Drake. You would just laugh at his selfies or something embarrassing that he does. But the thing is that people don't hate Kendrick as an artist. They don't really have a reason to. Even if he has flaws as a person, they're not nearly as potent as Drake is. He doesn't really have much of a social media presence except that one time he did push-ups, which Drake already made fun of. He's not a guy you love to hate like Drake, so where do people go next? They go towards the fans. They start hating on the fans for being cringy that they like Kendrick Lamar. And I'm not saying Drake doesn't have a cringy fan base, but I'm saying everyone's going to direct their anger towards Drake instead of the fans. Because if you try to hate on Kendrick, you're probably going to be called shallow by Kendrick fans, so you can just go after the Kendrick fans because you can call them nerds and be right about calling them nerds. Since GNX came out, I have had multiple friends send me clips of the song GNX, and it's mainly with the intent of like, oh, you actually listened to this? Of course they choose the worst song on the album, and then I choose them a song I like Dodger Blue, and then they just don't listen to it. And I do think the casual audience will dissolve a lot faster than Drake's audience. It's just because people will attack you for liking Kendrick more than they'll attack you for liking Drake. And instead of hating the Drake fans and making listening to Drake corny, people are just going to hate on Drake as they usually do. He can take the brunt of hate if it still means he's relevant. And I think when that happens, and when Not Like Us, you know, steps down as being the most popular song about Drake, that's when Drake's going to come back trying to get into the mainstream again. And honestly, I just think he's going to succeed. He has an album coming out called Some Sexy Songs for You. We'll see what happens, but I think, you know, the people that want to live vicariously through Drake again, they're going to do just that. Which honestly, we just need to humiliate people more for listening to Drake music more than we do, because I literally just get into arguments with my friends about listening to Kendrick and liking Kendrick. I'll be honest, it's a little exhausting. I'm not going to stop listening, but they have like this perspective of me now where I'm like this snooty rap listener just because I listen to an artist that I like. Now my friends, they're not rap listeners, and I have talked about listening to Drake songs around them, because yes, Drake is super popular. There's still some Drake songs I like. I've never had to defend myself for listening to Drake. This is a purely psychological effect. I don't know what it's described as, I don't know how you would define it, but it is all psychology. It is some sort of reverse psychology where if you give praise to something, people are skeptical. If you just say, oh, this thing isn't as bad, people just don't mind as much. I don't know what that effect is called, but it is annoying whenever I want to talk about anything I like. And this is a hot take coming from someone who engages with hip-hop but isn't directly involved with it. GNX doesn't feel like the future of hip-hop. Again, we're still in the greatest time for rap music to be rap music, but, you know, think of the stars that are stars right now. They're the same people that were stars 10, 15 years ago, if not 20 years ago. 21 Savage still feels like a new artist to me, and it's simply because the people he collaborates with have been doing it longer than he has, even though he's been in the rap game for almost 10 years now. And this is coming from someone my age who should be invested in the most contemporary hip-hop, who is invested in the most contemporary hip-hop, but there's just no new artists that are trying to get to the same level of popularity. Like, you have Doechii and Glorilla that are like kind of the newer rappers in the game right now, but it feels like upcoming rappers are the exception to popular rappers right now rather than the status quo like it was. Like in the Boondocks, it was a joke to be a relevant rapper for 4 years and then suddenly be a veteran, but it's not really like that anymore. At least it doesn't feel like that. 50 Cent's reign at most was like 3 years, and then he got beat out by Kanye, but has anyone really beat Kanye at what he does right now? Kanye isn't the most popular rapper, but no one has really taken Kanye's place. Again, GNX is a celebration and a cementation of hip-hop, and is Kendrick celebrating Pac, SWV, Luther Vandross? I get he has features on this album that are meant to be cosigns in order for hip-hop to like have newer faces. Even after listening to the album multiple times, I think the features are the weakest part on this album. And honestly, I just think that might be more of a weakness on Kendrick's part, because you look at someone like Kanye and he's been able to put out great features, even kind of recently, except it was just Fivio Foreign, which I mean, Off the Grid was great, but it hyped up Fivio Foreign to be way better than he really was. So in conclusion, Not Like Us is a great song. I really like it. Meet the Grams is still my favorite diss track from that whole Kendrick-Drake beef, but I think Not Like Us has transcended the Kendrick-Drake beef and has become its own anthem beyond that. But as much as I like this song, it kind of feels like a temporary fix towards hip-hop before things continue as they normally do. And it's one of those things where I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm really, really wrong and Drake goes away, and he goes away for a long time, if you know what I mean. But I see the more likely option, as this doesn't affect Drake too much in the long run, because as long as he has a way to stay relevant no matter what, it means he gets to be popular and he gets to do the things Drake does, and all the Drake fans get to live vicariously through him. Oh my gosh, this guy's popping pills for us, but we're also going to do it. We're just not going to be in a mansion when we do it. We're going to be in our beds jacking off. And like, what is Kendrick going to do after this, you know, other than touring? What is the next project going to be after this? Regardless of either artist, don't live vicariously through someone you look up to be your own person, okay? Kendrick encourages that message, I think, more than Drake. And also, as for the halftime show, I'm not going to be the one to analyze the halftime show, but I noticed there was some stuff not even from Kendrick's discography. And a lot of what he was doing was just satisfying. You know, he played Euphoria at the halftime show. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Playing Euphoria, the top 10 single Euphoria. It doesn't feel like a top 10 single, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, this has been a great hip-hop exhibition. I'm glad to have experienced it in my lifetime. If I never get to see anything like it again, then this was a great experience.
I'm done.